Well, good morning. This is the Friday before Mother's Day, and I want to welcome you to Judy and Doug's garden. I figured that since you guys couldn't be here with us, that if you were here, we'd be giving you a tour of the garden. So this is going to be your video tour of the garden, all right? Well, before we go into the garden, let's take a look right quick at our muscadine vine. Look at this thing. It's gotten gigantic. It's really come out big time over the last couple of weeks since it's been a little warmer and a little bit sunshinier. I'll go in here real close and maybe you can see some of the little clusters. See these little cluster here in my hand? Here's my hand. There it is. Okay. Oh, no. There it is. Well, anyway, believe me, there is lots of clusters of, there we go. There we go. There's some clusters. Anyway, all those little clusters, there are thousands of them. They will blossom into muscadines, and they'll be quite tasty if indeed the deer don't eat them all. So anyway, okay, let's come back here. I don't want to move around too quickly. As you can see, we have our still in place our 10-foot high fence. If you're going to garden in Rockdale County, you have to garden with the fencing in mind because the deer, of course, eat everything. Okay, let's take a look down the split rail fence here right quick. This is what we're calling our pollinator garden. These are plants that produce a lot of flowers so that it attracts the bees and the butterflies, etc., etc. So we built that on either side of the split rail fence here that we've had here for a long, long time. And it's coming along pretty good. This is the first year we've had it, so it's got to mature a good bit before it really looks nice, I think. And it's still quite early yet for some of the flowering plants. So, but a couple things I do want to show you right quick is this one right here. I love this rose. This is a new rose that I got for my birthday last year. This is a Julia Childs rose. It's a yellow rose. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's the most buttery yellow you could imagine. See if I can kind of close in on it here. And I've got 3 of these bushes. One's on the deck, this one here in the garden, and another one up in the upper part of the garden here. But they are just lovely, lovely roses. Okay, on down way here we've got an abelia. In the very back there you see some little green things with a little white tag. That's going to be a sunflower. The abelia is putting out a few little blossoms, but not much yet. And we have a coneflower and some Shasta daisies. The Shasta daisies will be out pretty soon. Okay, they're coming. You can see the buds on them. And this rose bush here, this is the rose bush that I brought from 1080 Benteen Avenue. This is the one that grew on the side of the house. Every year it produces lots of good roses. It's got some nice ones on it now. You see they're blowing in the breeze here. It's been not as productive this year as it has in past years, but I love this bush because I know that we clipped off many a red rose bush that got pinned on me and my brother and my sisters when we went off to church on Mother's Day on Sundays. And so since our mom was alive, we all got to wear red roses, and they all came off of this bush. Okay, so that's good little memories there. Anyway, you've got some clematis down here. This clematis has really come along very nicely. Again, they're blowing in the breeze, so you can't see them too well here, but I've got 3 along the split rail fence here, and they will keep on growing, and they'll get quite elaborate here over the next several weeks. A lot of canna lilies over there in the background. This little big old red bush is just an old stock rose that came up kind of voluntarily, I believe, by itself. But it puts out lots and lots of blossoms, as you can see. It's quite a colorful contribution here. Some daylilies there in the back, and some salvia there. That's a salvia plant there. It hadn't bloomed yet. It'll come along pretty soon here, not too distant future. But I really want to come down here and show you the blueberry bushes. Look at these guys. They are just overloaded with blueberries. They're not quite ready yet. There'll be a couple weeks before they come into their fullness. But we're going to have a boo-koodle of blueberries. So you guys get ready for some blueberry jam here in the future. We've got 4 bushes of them, and those 2 back ones there, they've got a lot more leaves on them. I think they're a different variety, but they're just loaded, all 4 of them, with blueberries. Okay. All righty, well, let's look back down this row here. What you see here, these big tomato plants are beefsteak tomatoes. Judy put those out about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And just this past week, I put out some Better Boy tomatoes. They're the smaller plants. You can't hardly see those. Right down here, it's a couple of eggplants that I put in. I like eggplants. I think I'm the only person in the family that likes eggplants. So I don't plant too many of those. But I do like eggplant. Anyway, here's some little Better Boy tomatoes, and they will become very profuse. But you see that hose over there? That's a row of going to be a row of okra. Judy just planted that yesterday, so there's not much of anything to see about that. We got some pretty elaborate fencing, as you can see here. These are for this first one here is for the cucumbers to grow up, and there's a few little cucumbers. You can see that little cucumber down there. I actually grew these from seeds. I was pretty happy that they have come along and got those started. This next 2 rows here are beans. They're just popping up out of the ground. They have not gotten very far yet. You can maybe see some little bitty ones coming up. There's still a lot to come up there. And then these 2 rows up here, these are peas. And these are zipper peas. They are absolutely delicious. They have a creamy texture to them. They are just really delicious, and they're really worth all the effort it takes to grow them. Okay, well, we'll come on up here to the upper part of the garden. Here we have some raised beds. There's a big thing of rosemary. If anybody wants any rosemary, please let me know. You can have all you want. There's our first bed of asparagus. Asparagus is all come and gone for the season. It's usually a March plant, and we have gotten some delicious asparagus this year. This bed here is for some squash. We've got 2 that started from seed. They're coming along pretty good. And this is some beets that Judy planted, and you can on down from the beach you've got some turnip greens and also some green peppers down there on the far side. Some more beets over there next to the green peppers, another bed of squash by them, and then some more roses. Okay, let's come down to look at the roses again. Now this is a different yellow rose right here. This yellow rose is called a Henry Fonda, and I planted this many years ago. It used to be outside the garden, and the deer would eat it down to its nubs practically before it ever bloomed. So really this year it's been very spectacular in the yellow blooms that it's put out. The blooms on this one are a deeper yellow than on the Julia Child, but I really love this beautiful yellow color that they are. I planted this in memory actually of my mother-in-law, Judy's mom, Jenny English. She loved Henry Fonda. She thought Henry Fonda was one of the best actors in the whole wide world. So whenever this flower blooms, I always think of Meemaw and what a really sweet, young, nice lady and caring lady she was. She and I had our ups and downs with each other, but for the most part, I really liked and appreciated her. Okay. So that's the Henry Fonda. Those roses back there, those are just some knockout roses of no particular note, other than that they are pretty. They're very pretty at the moment, but they don't really mean anything to me. And these other red ones over here, those are just, again, some stock roses that I found here in the yard, and I've just put them out here to see what they'll do. Okay, but I wanted to show you also the pink roses. This pink one here, this is a Queen Elizabeth rose, and this rose has just been absolutely spectacular this year. It has produced all kinds of blossoms. They have been just really beautiful. We're early in the season yet, so the June bugs haven't come out yet, so they've not started eating on them. These will be ravaged in the near future. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes with these guys, but the Queen Elizabeth has been really spectacular this year. And over here is the white rose. It's called an iceberg. Again, this is rose bush, came out of my grandmother's garden originally. It got moved to Mother's house at 1080 after we sold 1070, or after 1070 was sold. It's got a little bit of an issue with it at the moment. We think it's called thripe or thrip. It kind of causes the blooms to discolor a little bit. And the only way to get rid of it is you have to clip off all the blooms. And so if you do that, you're going to destroy the loveliness that it actually pretends to offer us. So I can't bring myself to clipping off all these blooms, even though they look a little bit damaged. But anyway, but I do again have good memories of this rose bush being in the yard at 1080 for many, many, many years, and also at my grandmother's house. So Anyway, this is really about it for the garden. Not much else to see here. We put a lot of effort into the fencing, as you can see way over there next to the big fence. As you can see, the asparagus, it's all going to the fern stage of its evolution. It goes from edible products to the fern stage, and then it'll die back in the fall, and it starts all over again the next spring. So anyway, that's it from the garden. Oh, let's go up here for just a second. All these are 4 o'clocks here along the fence, and they'll be beautiful pink and blue and yellow in the next couple of weeks here. On down that way is some swamp sunflowers that'll come along in the summer when it gets a little warmer. And this little pink rose here, again, this is something that was just in the yard. It used to be eaten up by the deer, and I moved it inside the garden. It's got a 4 o'clock plant coming up in the middle of it, but it's really put out a huge profusion of little lovely pink little rosettes to enjoy the garden. So anyway, thank you so much for being with me today and touring my garden, and we hope you guys all have a wonderful Mother's Day. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.